Evening all, and we're live. So tonight we've got a guest. We've got Stash Prada. Do you want to introduce yourself, Stash?
Hi, you guys. How you doing, England? This is Stash Prada from the internet. I love that intro. I love Pinhead. I work with him sometimes. I know this freaks you out, but I know him. We've done things in the universe and other dimensions together, and it's he is scary, but you've got to give him a chance. Don't give the guy a bad rap. Sorry. Love that intro.
Zero made that. Got some
Ah,
bad news for the fans. Zero's moved on to bigger and better things. Good luck to Zero. So tonight you've got me and Stash.
hey, synchronicity.
Yeah,
We'll have to do without Zero.
I'm sure we can do it.
Who is the man?
Yeah. So Stash, what do you want to talk about? I think Zero had you lined up to talk about cults. You were in a cult, were you?
I was when I was younger. I was in like a martial arts cult. And it's hard to describe how delusional you can get from the things. I mean, they use a kind of a loaded language, and it's hilarious. I mean, it's like, for instance, if one of the masters, if you go to the school, they'd be like, the guy was like, get me a BLT, no mayo, understand? And he'd be like, but before that, you're supposed to be, would it be all right to get you a sandwich? And he'd go, yes, get me a BLT, no mayo, understand? Like, yes, instructor. I got the guy the sandwich. I come back, but I screwed up. It had mayo. So he's like, you had mayo. You have no mind, understand? I'm like, yes, instructor, I'm sorry. No mayo. You said no mayo. I'm not worthy of. And it was a group that was out of Chicago, and it wasn't. There was another one that had come out of there that's very, very famous. That was way before my time. It was called Count Dante. There was this guy Count Dante. And I admit, I want to send for a Black Dragon Society T-shirt sometime to be part of his groove, because it's an awesome story. I mean, the guy was like a hairdresser, and he was tough looking. He had like the hair. I guess the look of a tough guy had a beard, and the hair would be a certain way. Sorry if I'm talking too fast with it, but you ever notice how each country has a way that the guys look tough? Like you guys, I don't know what you have. Maybe the skinheads or something, or punk
Yeah. I
rock
think it's
look,
probably a skinhead. Yeah.
or the footballer look.
Yeah.
Those guys had a certain kind of tough look, like it was a kind of a beard and a weird. And Count Down had, and he was just full of it, And the guy was like the black, and like it's the dim mock, and I teach you the way, and it's like hilarious. And the guy was a total charlatan. He was teaching dreams, whatever, and this was the same thing. So it's like you just want to believe, and you just surrender to the master. The less you meet him, and the more lies they tell about the master, the more you love him. You're just like, yes, I need to know the secrets, and you have no idea that you're like how much of a suck you are, and it's incredible. Other people will try to talk you out of it, and the more they try to talk you out of it, the deeper you go. It's like the Moonies or something.
So was this like a living cult
And
then? You were living there?
I didn't quite take it that far. They had a thing where you would work for them, like they had a bunch of paint companies.
Mm.
And the live-in thing would be if you really, gave them all your money, and you would go live with them and become an instructor. And it did. And it happened to guys. And I've seen guys that were deprogrammed later, and they were like, I lost my house, or some pretty heavy stuff. I didn't reach it that far because I happened to be kind of working for another guy who was a complete crook, and I took one of their tests for the belt or whatever, and the guy was like, "You don't know what you want to do with your life." And I'm like, "I'm sorry," and I repeated that to the guy that I work for, that was actually quite a bit more sophisticated con man than any of these people actually, but. And he was like, "That's a lie. Nobody knows what they want to do with their life." At the time, President Bush was president. He was like, "Bush doesn't know. Nobody knows." And I was like, and then boom, it just disappeared. The spell was gone. You know, if I could, it just was all of a sudden. You were like, "Oh my God, I was an idiot." And it's funny. You just wake up.
So it wasn't slowly, it was just literally bang, that was it. You go, oh, what a fucking idiot I am. Is that what it was?
Yeah. It's just like, oh. It's like, oh, I can't believe. And like, it's funny because the movement, you would hold these positions, whatever, and you want to do good. So your legs get huge, and you're like walking around, and you're getting strong, but it's like imbalanced, and you're getting good, but that you realize, not only that, the movement is not pure, because it's a lie, I I think they even said the master lifted certain things from like cartoons or something. It was just, and they were photographs and stuff. But if like they say it and they make it vague, so it becomes like they said one time, the master walked from one city to another. So they were like, "Master walks faster ways, understand?" I'm like, and the stupider it sounded, the more it sounded like you're like, "That's our thing, like, understand?" And you meet other guys and you're like, "Would it be all right?" Or you meet other strikers, "Would it be all right to ask?" And they would add credentials on the guy. So would it be all right to ask Assistant Regional Head Instructor Bob if you could look at my form? And of course, if you paid them the payment for that month, then they're like, "Your form looks good, understand?" And you're like, "Ah." And then if you were out of money, you lost your job, or you blew some money on something else, they'd be like, "Your form is bad, understand?" Like, no. And keep in mind here, you're like sweating to death or doing incorrect qigong movements and stuff like that. So you'd get dizzy and completely getting effed up. I mean, it's just like, and and then you'd catch certain things and it wouldn't get you out of the spell. Like one guy was like, "Oh, master traveled to Russia and taught them ballet, understand?" And you're standing there as the cult mind control ding ding, and you're like, I don't know. Didn't the Russians, isn't that Baryshnikov? Like, who invented ballet? And it's like awesome. And this, I guess my point would be, or one thing that, this doesn't stop there. This goes to other parts of society. The sometimes the more horrible the popular person is, or the less you know about them, the more the devoted fans go crazy.
Yeah,
It's just like Elvis.
The fake enigma thing.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't even. Oh, what do you mean by like the fake crypto?
Like people who kind of have an air of mystery about them, don't they?
Oh.
Like Lady Gaga when she first appeared, where she always wore the mask and you never saw her face, did you?
Oh, is that how she played it in the beginning?
Yeah.
Yeah, the less you see, the more, like the bigger the stars, the less they appear. I notice. Well, they try to, now they're more on. Like Cruz didn't seem to be on too much, and now he is more. Or I can't even think of another person. I don't. They're now exposing some more, but they used to only come on so much, right? Or I don't know. Now they're they're more visible, but I don't know.
Well, there were different reasons Tom Cruise didn't appear much because he was in Scientology. You ever had a brush with a Scientologist or anything like that? Then, being from America.
Oh yeah, I have. In fact, I was walking in the city one time with a friend of mine, and they asked us to come in, and I was like, I'm not going in. This is a bunch of bullshit. And he was like, you don't understand. I'm an alcoholic. This could be some avenue to help me. Let's go in. So so they had us watch a movie about a football player who gets hit on the noggin and he's in the hospital. And then the Scientology guy comes to him and he goes, you know what? This isn't your head. This isn't your freaking head, your noggin that got dinged, pal. You've got negative engrams. And like the football player guy's like, oh, really? And he starts getting healed. Like, and it was kind of a 1950s, like one of those like, Johnny, don't smoke marijuana, or the way to become one of those 1950s, and he gets healed. And then they gave a test. So I took the test or whatever, and the guy who was kind of twitching or whatever, and he goes, the results of this test mean that you are an evil person and you have done something bad. You've robbed a bank or something. And he's like twitching. And I was about to go, what the fuck are you talking about? And go really at him, but I caught myself and I changed my face and try to act real tough and go, you're right. I did. And the guy cowered back or whatever, and he left me the fuck alone. I loved it.
You out crazy. You out crazy the Scientologist then, did you?
Yeah. And I couldn't believe it. I was like, what? And my friend got out of it with just buying the comic book or something. But they had like a really wild brownstone over by the river there, the Charles River place. So I don't know. I would imagine it's probably pretty big in England, right? Do they have that too?
Not so much. Because I think we took them to court. I think we legally tangled them up, so I don't think they really bother with us anymore.
Oh God. This sounds totally crazy about the whole worship of celebrity or different things. And I was hanging out down this pub there by Victoria Station,
Yep.
I don't think it's there anymore. It was like the Tut and Shive or something like that. And I befriended this guy. He was like a butcher. And he said, let's go out tonight. We'll go to the disco place. But he said, look, wait, he had the accent, I guess what you call a Cockney accent when you guys met. He's like,
yeah.
Let me tell you, Starks, these people here, they are so dumb. You won't believe it. We're going to put something over them. We're going to tell them you're a movie star. We're going to tell them you're Dean Cain, and we're going to drink for free. I'm like, what? You got to be shitting me. But we went in there. The guy with total balls, he tells the bartender, he goes, hey, this is Dean Cain. The guy goes, oh, what? You want a drink? I'm like, yeah. I was like, what the hell? I'm like, okay. And he's like, see, I told you. And I was like, okay. I was like, wow. I was like, why can't I do this all the time? I just lie. And it's, it's hard, but you just maintain it. And you would think people get it, but no, it's the worse, the lie. It's like sometimes the less people get it, it's insane. It's like, or the simpler the message, maybe, like I mean, like these people that are like walk around, they're like archetypes of very, very, very deep mediocrity. That's not easy to obtain. If that makes any sense, like you got your Tom Cruise, you got Pam Anderson. They're like very, very specific archetypes of something that people, and they don't say too much, and they let the people make it up.
Yeah.
You're like, Angelina Jolie. Angelina Jolie would never hurt my dog. It doesn't even make any like she would like my dog. Have you ever heard people say stuff like this? I don't know.
Yeah, I think
Or
I
is
know
it?
what you mean. I mean, you get over here. Like the soaps. Do you know what the soaps are? Like the daytime dramas.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, like what you'll get over here is like is whoever plays like the villain in it. They'll get like they'll get like someone come up to them in the supermarket and just give them hell for being nasty in a daytime soap.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, this sounds horrible. When I first was coming over, I was like idolizing, like I'm like, oh my god, I'm here. I'm in England. Sherlock Holmes, Shakespeare. This is it. I can now die now. But then I was going down some of the streets and I saw, and I'm not gonna, I'm not, I don't want to sound like a jerk with it, but like I started to get a little judgmental sometimes because there's these uh, newspaper shops and it's got all these tabloid things. I'm like, oh shit, that's just like back like home. It's like,
Yeah. There's certain
with
things that don't change, isn't there?
yeah, yeah. It was like, you know, but what did I expect? It's like my expectation.
Well, that's what we were
Was too
saying
much.
before, wasn't it? It's like they're trying to turn every single high street in every single country exactly the same, so you can walk down any high street anywhere and know what you're gonna buy.
Oh my god, it's a nightmare. It's a living hell. It's a have you ever heard? This is pretty obscure, but there's a American comic and actor this named Eric Bogosian,
I
and
may have heard of him. It doesn't spring. He doesn't spring to mind.
he plays a shock jock in a movie from way long ago, kind of a Howard Stern kind of guy, or that kind of guy, and he's so right wing or whatever that they kill him. And he's interesting in that I'll never forget he was talking about this town in New England somewhere, whatever that's like plain, and he just said what I never forgot, which was really, quite frankly, something I observed too. So I really was digging what he was saying. It affirmed a thought I had that there's this place called Four Corners, and there's one Taco Bell, one Kentucky Fried Chicken, one phone thing, and one this, and like that. And then when you drive from New York back to Boston or something, or back and forth, whatever, or one of those cities, you're driving and you see that again and again. Again and again. So I had experienced that in Germany, which I'm a huge fan of Germany. I love all the rich thing, and I like the different things. And I'm like, oh my god, they got it too. There's a four car. Oh, there's more. No, how could this be? Or when I was in Vienna, one time, and like there was a Starbucks. And what's the best thing about Vienna? Well, you go in those tremendous coffee shop, and they said they were a little mad about it, but it was it was there, and it's like there's about 5 or 6 of them on 8th Avenue in New York City.
Well, I remember Jack.
Starbucks.
What's his name? Lewis Black. Have you a fan of Lewis Black at all?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, there's that one where he said, I've made it. I reached the end of the universe. I know I'm at the end of the universe because I've just stepped out of a Starbucks and there's a Starbucks opposite."
Oh yeah, and the symbolism is incredible. I mean, it's the siren, and she's got her legs apart. Let's face it.
Yeah.
Some of them. I don't know if you've seen that one, and she's like calling you to it. I mean, they even have. I've seen one. They had the all-seeing eye on some of their wall murals. I don't know if you caught them.
I don't know. I've seen. Is it Denver Airport? Have you ever been to Denver Airport? Have you seen that?
Oh yeah, I made a YouTube of it. Oh yeah, very creepy.
That's really creepy. With like the Nazi with the gas mask on, killing people. That's just like just odd, isn't it?
It's in your face. I mean, it's and it's got an odd vibe to it. And now, when I got there, they had, I think they had actually taken that mural down.
Yeah,
But
I've
no
heard
matter
that's
what,
come down, hasn't it?
it's what.
I have heard that's come down, that mural.
Yeah, so I couldn't find it. And I couldn't find the gargoyle either. I have to confess. But it has like these it's like it almost looks like a giant tent. So it gives this muffled vibe. You know, if you talk about feng shui or whatever.
Yeah.
I was chatting with Zero the other night when I was vlogging or whatever, and we were talking about these cities have these amazing energy points with the chi. You know, like for me the strongest one is the Times Square, but New York. But I got a pretty darn big vibe when I went up the escalator into that Piccadilly Circus thing there.
Yeah, that looks like some sort of it always seems like some sort of energy collector or something, doesn't it?
Yeah, I don't know. And what do you guys call it? The Circle or
Piccadilly Circus.
Circus, but it has
Yeah.
a circular feeling. Or am I out to lunch on that? I don't know.
Yeah, I think there's that one building, isn't there, that bends around the corner.
Yeah, it almost looks like the brother to the Times Square somehow. Or
Yeah.
It's got that feeling. We were talking about that John Le Claret, the circus, you know, where the MI6 British intelligence they refer to it as the circus, and I think the Russians call their ones the circle. And I don't know if have you seen that movie? Or
No, I haven't seen that one. Which film's that?
it's it was originally done with Alec Guinness, the from Star Wars, or whatever, and then it's been remade into another good one with Gary Oldman.
Is that
and it's about
Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy? Is that the one?
Precisely.
Yeah,
absolutely. And and even the number is kind of got like the 5, you know, the Cambridge 5. It's and we were talking about or I was that before you guys had the Olympics, how the Queen is with Daniel Craig Bond, you know, who would obviously be the manifestation of John D. 007, you know, the occultist.
Yeah.
And it's very clearly that there's no mistake that he's not standing there as Daniel Craig.
Yeah.
With her. He is obviously James Bond, which is a, you know, definitely a callback to the Elizabethan era. Although people, I don't think, realize it now. It's almost so universal that you have to stop yourself and second. You're like, wait a minute, Bond's not American. You know, it's like because he's so universal or something. You know.
Yeah, you get those kind of universal characters, don't you?
Yeah, like he's representing, you know, what is right, or would really actually. I just commented to somebody recently, like, you know, if you look at James Bond, he is a murderer and a nymphomaniac. Which people are like, how could you say that? He's wonderful. I'm like, I don't think so. Except they have toned him down and made him more sensitive. And there was this one Scottish guy that's saying, "Oh my God, now he's getting beat up by women and stuff." You know, he's not the same. I mean, he's definitely remember Bond. Bond obviously used to be sexist as hell.
Well, it always used to be that one of his girlfriends in the film always ended up dead, because there was always like 2 Bond girls, wasn't there? And one of them ended up dead, didn't they? Usually.
Oh, that's an interesting observation. is very kind of like sacrificed or something.
Yeah. Was
You
it?
know that they're
What were
did
you
I
going to
lose
say?
you?
No, after you. I'll start after you.
Oh, I thought I lost
Yeah.
you. Oh, there's one of them with when Pierce was Bond, and there's this media guy, and I was pretty shocked. He is directly inspired by Robert Maxwell. He
Yeah.
was it's like
Yeah.
I forget his name. It might be
I got that
Damien
one.
Thorne.
What is it? It's
I
the.
was
Is it the world is not enough?
yeah, with the really pretty girl from Desperate Housewife or something.
Yeah.
She died.
Yeah. That's that. Yeah. That's the one that made me think of that. To be honest.
And actually, of course, everything. This is when the cinema meets real life, because of course his daughter is, how do you say her name correctly? Jessalyn Maxwell.
I've got no idea. Is it Ghislaine? Ghislaine, I think.
Yeah, Ghislaine. Yeah, the daughter was the person who provided and I will say allegedly, because I'm of course in the I'm of course the blackest operative there is, my friend. Allegedly, my friend Jessalyn was the one who, you know, beyond horror, provided these women to Epstein.
Have you seen she's suing the Epstein estate? Have you seen that?
No, for
Because
real?
yeah, because apparently when he was alive, Epstein promised her money for life or something. So she's suing on that basis.
That he was supposed to provide her money for life?
Yeah. So she's suing his estate for money for such and such like amount of money for life.
She's got guts. You got to give her that.
Yeah.
You know what's the most horrible thing is I would like to meet her. I would like to not that I haven't, but she reminds me of, have you heard that occultist artist woman that has freaked out people?
Oh, that Abramovich, Mario Abramovich.
Yes.
Yeah.
I can't even believe I've made a whole YouTube in dedication to her witchcraft and her art. And she's probably me. I can't. I'd love to meet her. I'd love to see if my chi could block her chi. Maybe she and I need to reunite and destroy the coronavirus. What do they call it? The black and white, the yin and yang.
Yin yang, yeah. The two energies.
I can't. The two energies. Yeah. I mean, yeah. I can't say I don't respect their rock hard determination, but I mean, it's like, they're unmistakably people who mean business. I mean, how does that? That's what I always think of Bond. Basically, you give the other fella hell. You're there, and I think we as Americans don't understand that. But it's so funny that it's when you see an incredible Britain person, and there'll be somebody who's so wild, tearing everybody down, doing everything, like an Aleister Crowley, and then they'll be like, but it's all for Her Majesty. That just freaks me out. Like when they showed Lawrence of Arabia, like he had all these adventures. He was almost killed a million times. He created Saudi Arabia. It's amazing that he even survived, and he's coming back reporting to his superior officer, and there's all these stiff guys, and the guy's just like, Well, good job, Lawrence. Put that report over there and get out. I went
back to,
crazy. I was like, that's
back to,
so awesome.
back to
And
normality.
he's just like
Yeah.
who?
Just back to normality,
Oh,
isn't it? It's like you're back in the world
yeah,
now.
back to normality. But,
Yeah.
or just the discipline of it. I'm like, very good, sir. Like all these buildings and shit could be blowing up, and there's like, please take care of that. Very good, sir. It's there goes my thing that I think we were talking about earlier, that would kind of connect to. There's this iron discipline that no matter what happens, you will die. You're gonna die for the king. You're gonna die for the queen. And it's the same thing, like the samurai. It's kind of a variation of that, or the Rudyard Kipling. No matter what, no matter who is against you, you will completely kill everybody and take over this jungle for the queen. It's weird. I don't know it, and it's even still remains, because I remember like joking around with some liberal people from England, and like, well, well, you guys are you kick ass a little too much with the king, and they're like, no, that's imagine, they actually pushed back, and I was like, oh really? Okay, sorry. Sorry about the whole thing, or like that. I was also talking to Zero about the way these guys who are double agents know something, because one of the great traders to England was Philby, and to America, Philby,
Yeah.
amazing spy. Also, his dad, Sir John Philby, was also equally as wild, big spy. And in this scene, and here I come with my American chauvinism, like a yank, but
yeah,
this is part of it, so forgive me if this part of this statement. But he says to the Saudi kings, he's like, "Oh no, don't invest with Britain anymore. It's time. Put all your thing to America." And at this time, the England was still the number one. Clearly. And so how did he know that would transfer the power to America? What the heck? It's weird. He knew before. And and to me, that there had to be a little element of some knowledge he had, or some treachery, or somewhere, or something. I don't know. It was really, I caught that line. I was like, I bet you some people might miss that.
Crowley worked for the Secret Services during the war, didn't he?
That is really amazing. Yeah, and that guy has that book, and he also had written about Sidney Riley, the incredible Sidney Riley, the British spy, and he had written about Crowley, and it is because you wonder how much. I mean, he definitely viewed himself as an occultist probably first, but you wonder how much they use that as cover to cover the greater duty to the crown, or to the intelligence service, as an agent. And they say that he had something to do. He considered himself a prime mover in the Lusitania sinking.
Oh, okay.
Gambit. So he was involved. They were keen on him because of his knowledge of the occult. Some of the Germans. So he had that, and he wrote that magazine Fatherland or whatever. He got in with them, and he took trips to Berlin. So that's why, some people, and it's kind of probably uncomfortable to say, some people like to think of him as a Nazi or something, but it's probably very uncomfortable to think. But he was actually, like we were saying, his duty is to the crown, which is, even though he would look like this madman who, with his sex magic and his mountaineering and all the incredible stuff.
The great beast.
Yeah, the great beast. And here's what's even more wild about that. Everybody would think that such a wild person, or even these groups that like the OTO or the Freemasons, you'd go, wow, well, they have all the power. But it's still, as wild as all those secret societies are, they still report in some way back to the office, you know, which is weird, and they're involved in it too. I mean, I remember seeing some FBI guys, and like they clearly had the Freemason rings
Mm.
on, you know, so it's like back and forth. I had heard of a man from Austria who was an intelligence man, and it's hard to translate some of the stuff back to English, but it had been known that he had played the Freemasons too, with his ability as an operative.
Yeah.
Which usually you might think they were both jiving together, but sometimes I don't think so. They're not always completely in a line, I don't think, but a lot they are. But you know, you don't know. We would never know. It's like when people traffic in the kind of thing are discussing it. You know, people think they know. We like to think we know, and you know, it's like that old thing. The more you know, then you're like, wow, I don't know. But you know what, guys? You guys don't know. And they're like, no, I know. I've got every David I tape, and I got every Alex Jones thing. Shut up. You know, like, no, I don't think you know. You know. you wouldn't know unless, you know, unless Jessalane is your friend and you're there. You know, she would tell you with the real score what's going on. You know, and then you were there, or unless she's lying to you. Or a guy like Maxwell, you know, who, as massive as he was, he obviously got in over his head. You know, he owed a lot of money. Is the backstory to Maxwell. He had stolen all those pensions funds.
Yeah, from the
In the Bond
Daily
film, I don't think so.
He used to run the newspaper, the Daily Mirror. Do you think he could have faked his death?
You know what? I'll tell you. At that level, we don't know.
Yeah.
Do we? That's my. It's like with Epstein. People say Epstein didn't kill himself, and other guys have said, "I think he." You know, again, I don't want to say that he did and commit myself and sound like a dink, but like a ding dong. But at that level, yes, I really do think so, and they could do it. At both of them, and you know, it's possible. And that's kind of like how we freaked out over JFK. You know, how could they get to him? You know,
yeah,
if
because
they could get to him, then
they got the route moved and
him.
everything, didn't they, to get to JFK?
Absolutely. And it's like, I don't know if did that even reverb worldwide? Like, you think they got the feeling in England, like if they could have got to JFK, they could get to us, or maybe a little, right?
Yeah, it makes. I mean, if you can take down a president, you can take down anybody, can't you?
Yeah, you get it. It's like a threat. Like, and once this has happened, it goes to your subconscious. It's like the Twin Towers. You know, it is what we cannot unsee it. That psychodrama, that black magic happened, and we got it. Whether you live 2 blocks away from Lower Manhattan, or you live in Nepal in a bungalow in the mountains, and all you have 3 people live in your town, and you're ruled by some shaman or something. It doesn't matter. Chances are you took the train to one of the towns and you saw the Twin Towers go down. It's like, you know, you can't we wish we could unsee it. I mean, it's like, I don't know. Have you seen some of the horrific live footage of the people leaping?
Yeah, I've seen that. Yeah.
Unbelievable. I mean,
Imagine being faced with that kind of choice. You got a choice of either burning to death or jumping and definitely dying. It's horrible, isn't it, having that kind of choice?
It's unimaginable. It's unimaginable. Did you see the clear shot they have of what they're calling the hanging man?
Yes, yeah.
So, what are your thoughts on that? Does it look like a stage frame picture, even though it existed? It's very interesting.
Uh, I think I'm more in the let it happen on purpose camp than anything else.
So they get the photograph and it happened,
Yeah,
which it did.
the plane hit the tower come down.
Oh yeah.
Maybe I think that there was some explosives planted. I'm open to that idea, so that's probably where I
Now
am with 9/11.
here we go into the realm of the supernatural. When such a thing occurs, does a spiral of synchronicities come out too?
Yeah,
No doubt. That's what. Yeah. See that's like when you were saying about the coronavirus. It's like there's also fuck ups going on here.
yeah.
You know.
There's cock ups and conspiracies. I believe that they kind of quite a few things are cock up, and then they just have to figure out how to make the best of it. Like Brexit and Trump getting in are both cock ups that they had to then cope with somehow.
Uh-huh. In other words, somebody was going for it, but it happened for the people
Yeah.
by mistake a little bit. Yeah,
So then
and
they
yet
have to
there is,
regain control of it then, don't they?
and yet there is a counter force too
Yeah.
that we can't see of unseen. You know they're going for the power grab too.
Yeah.
That seems to be the case.
Because there has to be there
The
has to be more than one faction, doesn't there, of the deep state?
definitely. I mean, there's definitely some gangs going on. I mean, and there's newer players that are rising that can't be counted out. India, China are
Yeah.
coming to the table. Did you see that John Wick, like the in that fantasy story, the idea is everything's ruled by the assassin group, the High Table,
Yes.
and it's I like that concept. Like the underworld has a whole system. You know, can't
It's funny how
like
keen
watch.
it's funny how Keanu Reeves keeps picking these projects with these kind of themes, isn't it?
I guess he's just born it. He has that silent warrior, new age warrior thing that he's got down brilliantly. I guess.
Yeah.
But just the name Wicker Man would go back to that bending of the reality, I guess, like the Wick, John Wick,
Yeah.
which is scary because everybody does say he's the most wonderful guy ever. He helps people all the time, but his characters are undoubtedly very dark. I mean,
I don't
although
know.
people don't see it that way.
He used to do more comedy though, didn't he? Yeah, like Bill and Ted, and was it Parenthood? He was a bit of a goof in that, wasn't he, as well?
Yeah, maybe that helped him build up to
Yeah.
become such a badass. He's unmistakably good with combat small arms. I mean,
Yeah.
is it when these films are they as huge when they come to the UK as they are here, or like,
Yeah, the John Wicks are really popular here too.
yeah, that makes sense. And I wanted is sometimes Bond not as popular there as it is here? Does it catch fire
Uh,
over here more because we get a look?
I think Bond's people are. It's not what it was, is it? Bond. I think it's lost its edge, hasn't it, since Craig took over?
Yeah, it's a different thing. It doesn't. It feels like a different thing.
Yeah.
I think they don't stop it because it's to my mind it's still a tribute to Dr. D. They can't stop it. They're just like, yeah.
I think
They were talking about
they're
making
trying to though, aren't they?
keep the empire going. Why not?
Yeah. I
And
listened to
I didn't know the.
I listened to a bit of one of your shows the other day when you were talking about Prince of Darkness. I absolutely love that film.
Oh, yes, yes, yeah. I think I even like it better than the Hellraiser
Yeah, it's really
overall.
the kind of weird thing is it's kind of strangely unsatisfying at the end, isn't it? Because you don't really get a proper conclusion, do you?
I swear to you, I just watched it and then I ran out of time and I couldn't finish it. But I think I watched it before. Is it you talking about when I hate to spoil alert anybody, but when the woman basically flies through the portal into hell, right?
Yeah, and then and then you find out that time's been changed, don't you? Because it's basically messages coming through time, isn't it?
See, oh yeah, see that was that. There's a lot of very very difficult concepts that he breaks down very beautifully in that film.
Yeah, I mean it's a real high concept film, isn't it?
I mean, you remember like the physics. He's like, reality breaks down at the subatomic level. And like they really took a chance, they had the guy and he really looked like a real physicist and his eye was kind of messed up.
Yeah,
And
he's
Donald Pleasance is creepy.
yeah.
I do a bit about Donald Pleasance on how he warns people, but they don't get it. Like the sheriff's like, Sheriff Michael Myers is still alive, you idiot. And like they don't believe him. But you want to believe that he can handle it because he's so intelligent with his little pistol and like you cad, like his brain power. I love that concept. The whole world is going to hell, but there's some woman or man who can stay cool and like this is fascinating. Like there's 50 dead people somewhere, and Michael Myers is literally gonna kill everybody in the world, but like there's this detective or scientist or something like this is fascinating. We must pursue him. I
Yeah.
love that. They can keep their cool. Like, and you got to have people like that. Like if it's somebody has to be like with these viruses. Somebody has to know what to do, and they do it. And there has to be a little bit of a dark or shadow side to them too, because they would not survive. Like I just rewatched Mad Max, the new one. I don't know if you've seen that one.
Yeah, that's not it's not so good, is it?
You know what? When I gave it another chance, at first I hated it. Like how could they do that to Mac? But I was giving it another run for it, and I did like the give and take between Charlize and Tom there,
Yeah.
Tom Hardy. And I understand that apparently they hated each other.
I did that.
Yeah. And I gave it another shot, and then I really liked it. I really liked I was quite frankly trying to study it up to improve my acting skills a bit. And he's like give up on hope, and there's a slight look in his eye of a little fear. And all this stuff, and it's like nothing can take the place of Mel Gibson, but they did their own thing. And I just like you had to be, I despised it at first. Then I watched it and I watched it again. I was like, ah. And she's got the war paint on, and it's amazing. And it's at the end, they give each other a nod of respect. Basically, she was half dead, and he had, and I thought it was you hated the ending. Like you want them to kiss, you want them to embrace, but they gave each other a nod. Just like the Seven Samurai. Like I can't tell you how much that image I love. Like these people that are so masterful, and they have these amazing adventures. They save all these people. They kill all these people, and they survive. And then they put the weapon back in the holster. They put the samurai away, and they just give each other a nod of respect. like I'll see you. Like in the beginning of Magnificent Seven, Yul Brynner meets Steve McQueen, and they're like, you can tell how many adventures, how much death did these men face, and they meet each other, and it's all business. Like you find any gunfighting? I just came from Tombstone, no business. It's I'm in awe of it. You know, it's like, and after I left that cult, the weirdest thing is I became a disciple of a real master, the real thing. He had fought in Nam. I don't know if you've seen that movie Remo Williams. It goes way back.
Yeah, I've seen that film. That was one of my favourites when I was a kid.
Yeah, and it's like Master Chung or whatever. Well, this guy that became my disciple. I became his student somehow. It was very difficult for me. It was just like Master Chung. The guy insults him. He's like, you are disgusting, and it's. But you see that Master Chung watches so far.
Hobbits joining. You'll know from the sound.
Hello, chaps. Can I just say I too watched the Imperator Furiosa film with a cameo appearance of Mad Max, and you know, the thing is, in retrospect, watching that film, you had a functional society who was run by a strong man who's probably unpleasant, but let's face it, it's an unpleasant wasteland. Right. And then right at the end, he dies, and then the women ruin that society by opening up the sluice gates for what I assume is a limited resource, thus condemning them all to death. So the women in that are the real villain.
Oh, that's an interesting take. In other words, this guy did what it took to survive.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, they even had like functional hydroponics gardens, and you know, they were doing water rationing so that way everybody got their fair share. In some ways, it was an egalitarian society.
Right. And he was like, and he was like, witness me. But I guess we were just talking about cults, or when I was going to be on you guys, so I came from that emotional point of view when I was looking at it. So. But there you go. There's a side to it you'd never think. Like he had things going in the post-apocalyptic wasteland, and they killed him. Sorry, Hermit, I interrupted. It's an awesome point.
Yeah, by all means. I mean, I did enjoy the film, but at the same time, I just realised that everyone's cheering at the end. It's like you do realise you're cheering your death by dehydration.
That's very well. You know why I said I first hated the film? Because I came at it from another way. I said, "Oh my God, this film is here to create an archetypal warrior woman for continued military conquest." That was what I did.
Without a doubt. It's more warrior princess programming, and the feminist angle of it is annoying.
I did get, but you know what? And I realized that, but I still can't get enough. Why am I still looking at these warrior princesses too? So I feel like a hypocrite too, you know.
But
or I can't help but want her to win or whatever. But in the back of my head, I'm like, oh yeah, they want women to join the military to kill everybody, you know.
But at the same time, I mean, it's very honest because. And unfortunately, I can't remember the name of the Greek play. There is a name of it, but it's one where the Greeks warn that when you get a society run by women, it all goes to ruin. And it warns about like when women get the vote in Athens. And then I'm looking at Fury Road, and it's telling exactly the same story. I mean, okay, there's no voting, but women are in charge. Open up the floodgates, and it's like, oh, now your water's gone. I mean, even Immortan Joe was saying that. Don't get addicted to water.
Right.
And you think to yourself, well, that sounds like an absurd statement to you and I, because you just turn the tap and there it is, you can drink it. But in a society like that, where everything's desert and even the oceans are gone, water is a scarce resource.
It's huge. Or like, how about Iraq without Saddam?
Well, yeah, there you go. Saddam is Immortan Joe.
Yeah. Yeah.
New way to look at Fury Road. So that Saddam is Immortan Joe.
Yeah.
People would probably shoot us for saying this. you just killed the guy. Because what if they had number two? Obviously, part two. They would revisit it, and it would be another, masculine threat, and would join. Billie Eilish or something would join the cast or something. I don't know.
And yet all somehow have miraculous hair. I did like that sort of scene where the girls are just like washing themselves and splashing about water carelessly. And more and more I think about it, the film's anti-feminist. And I've got to say, it's better than Mad Max 3, but not as good as Mad Max 2.
Which one was Mad Max 3?
With Tina Turner.
Yeah.
But the tune was great. No, I don't know.
Mad Max 2 is a masterpiece.
Mad Max 3 had some good memes from it, though, didn't it? 2 men enter, 1 man leave.
Oh, yeah. Who run bar to town?
Bust a deal, face the wheel.
Yeah. I was thinking that the poxy clips, those kids are talking and they can't, because they've got like second-hand English, it's like they can't speak properly. And instead of the apocalypse, it's the poxy clips, isn't it?
Oh yeah.
I like
Have
it.
you guys ever thought that the credit card debt would be getting so great that they'd be like, and now we have the Johnson family. They owe Discover Card and Visa, and now they will enter the Death Island or whatever,
The Thunderdome.
Yeah. And you have to pay. You can watch it by using your points from your credit card.
I like Mad Max 3. I mean, Mad Max 3 shows there's some recovery, and overall it's a hopeful, optimistic film. And I do like how the kids are tribals and they're living in this oasis. And one of them's the shaman, and he's got like a vinyl disc on his stick. And then someone figures out that you can play that on this gramophone, and they're listening to French elocution lessons. So you got the kids going, répète après moi, je m'appelle François. And you got the kids, it's like, je m'appelle François.
I suppose when you think about it, it's that's the most interesting one of the lot, because basically Mad Max 2 is just like go to the end of the road, turn around and come back again, isn't it?
Yeah.
Does the first one have Max von Sydow in it, or am I out to lunch?
No, it didn't. Oh, dog.
Okay.
Oi!
The first Mad Max is what I like to think we're living in right now.
Oi!
Where you still see it recognisable as society.
Shut up!
We've got packs of roving gangs ignoring the orders to stay at home.
Oh.
the toe cutter riding through the night. No, it's the Night Rider, isn't it? The toe cutter's the bad guy in it, isn't he?
But the thing is, unlike that Mad Max Future, the cops aren't armed with really cool cars.
Yeah.
They've just got like shitty Vauxhall Astras. I mean, that's not a Road Warriors vehicle.
Not at all.
I'm sorry to get down this Mad Max thing, but it is one of my favourite worlds, and I'm thinking I might replay the game sometime. People keep saying that it's a rubbish game, but I find it very enjoyable.
Oh, they have like a video game of it?
Yeah, it's an open world explorer. It's basically a story where you're trying to get reunited with your car, and you end up building this really good car, and you go on the quest for the holy V8 engine.
My only problem with it was a bit short, wasn't it? I think that was my problem with the game.
My problem with it is you finally get the V8, and it's like, oh,
there's no more missions left to do.
Well, that's it. It's like, I was hoping like the V8 would have been like some sort of pot like halfway during the game, so you get to enjoy going around in it.
Yeah.
I mean, you do, but all for 5 minutes. Oh
now,
dear.
If movies transform you, how do I don't really do gaming, so does it transform you to your mind, or?
Oh yeah, I'd say so. I mean, I was on Brutus's thing. We were talking about Dune, and I explained that if it hadn't been for me playing the game, I'd have never watched the VHS in French, and I'd have never gone on to read the book in English. And I think this sort of gradual introduction to Dune is why it became one of my favorite stories of all times. The game was even sort of, is very basic. It's from 1990. The graphics are basic, but it perfectly captures the atmosphere of it, I'd say.
Oh yeah, yeah. Like we were talking about Prince of Darkness, and that's old school filming. But they did whatever cash he had to make that movie. Carpenter did some good choices in
Oh,
creating that time message or whatever. They each of the characters has that prophetic dream. I thought he did a lot with what he had, or whatever.
well, there's a fun synchronicity because I was just talking. YouTube recommended me Cinema Massacre, and it was Macaulay Culkin was watching Big Trouble in Little China with some of these other nerds, and they were talking about how it was his last studio film, and after that he did Prince of Darkness. And I really do like John Carpenter films. Dark Star is actually very good. I mean, it sort of shows that when you're forced by budget to be constrained, you can create this masterpiece which is very claustrophobic and actually very clever.
Ah, that's one of his first ones, right?
Dark Star is his first film, yeah.
Didn't he?
I
Didn't
don't
he
know if
make that
did
at
the
college or
previous one.
something? Wasn't that like a college project or something?
If it is, it's the best college project I've ever seen.
Yeah.
I mean, the philosophical bomb whose raison d'etre is to explode.
That sounds a bit like Talkie Toaster, doesn't it?
No, I mean, Talkie Toaster, I mean, I'm pretty sure that that is what it was inspired from.
Ah, right, okay.
There's a lot of Dark Star references in Red Dwarf, actually.
Oh, is there?
Yeah, I mean, you sort of look at the sort of run down, dirty walls and things like that, and the low budget spaceship, and it reminds me of like a British Dark Star.
Yeah, it's actually, when you think about it. I've seen a bit of Dark Star, but I haven't seen all of it.
I'll watch the entire film. In fact, if we were going to do a movie night, I would. I mean, it's not as if we're going to work or anything. Let's watch Dark Star at some point.
Oh, go deeper. Watch all the Blake's 7.
Oh God, I've never watched a Blake 7 before.
Is it like a soap opera or something?
No,
Blake's
Blake 7 was. I think they were like a gang of criminals that stole a spaceship or something. So it's kind of like, imagine like edgy Star Trek. It was a pretty good series.
Edgy Star Trek. I like some of them. I like the actress from Dempsey and Makepeace.
Glynis Barber.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can I say, whilst we're on the subject of edgy Star Trek, I mean, growing up as a kid watching TNG, Deep Space Nine, and Voyager, I always thought to myself, I'd love to see a Star Trek series that's focused on the Romulans and from their perspective of what's going on. And we sort of have that with Picard, but it's awful. And then I look at it, it's directed by Alex Kurtzman, who's done such other stellar pieces of work like Transformers and season 4 of Lost.
Ugh, Lost. What a waste of time that was.
Thanks, Alex Kurtzman. Thanks for turning this really interesting show set on a beautiful desert island into a piece of steaming dog excretions.
Yeah, but the thing is though, everybody when they watch the first episode of Lost goes, they're all dead and they're in purgatory. And then J.J. Abrams goes, no, they're not. No, they're not. And then you watch the last episode, oh yeah, they were in purgatory the whole time.
Oh, fair enough. I always thought they survived it, and like the island brings people there, which it needs.
No,
like
nothing anywhere near as clever as that. J.J. Abrams was doing it.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, but I mean, J.J. Abrams actually can make a coherent story, but he had all these interesting like loose ends, and Alex Kurtzman was just like, yeah, I'm just going to take a steaming dump over all of this. By the way, I tried to give up swearing for Lent as well. I mean, there's only like 17 more days to go, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think I can do it. I'm going to be so pious at the end of Lent that Jesus is just going to like shine out the cards and goes like, "Hey, Hobbit, you're all right.
You've done good, lad."
Now say sorry to Niall and you can come to heaven.
Oh dear.
And this is amazing. How long is this thing gonna go on, huh?
18 months.
I mean, is it gonna ruin the movies and stuff?
Oh,
we never gonna get
the movies weren't already ruined by the tribe that does them all.
No, no, but I mean, even like going in the building, like, you know.
Yeah, I mean that's gone, hasn't it? There's going to be no big tentpole releases, are there?
I mean, I use that as a way to, you know, if things were going really stressful, that, you know, you just go to the movies alone. It was, you know, cheap form of therapy or whatever, you know.
Yeah, because you can just get lost in the film. You just stare at the screen and get lost in the film, can't you?
Yeah, I mean, and sometimes if it's a nice theater, sometimes even a lousy movie, you still get to some escapism at least, you know.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, I'm really grateful I watched 1917 in the cinema. That was a beautiful and harrowing film. And the thing is, it's like, I mean, it's one thing to read about the accounts of like thousands of men being machine gunned in minutes, but it's quite another thing when the film makes it makes it visceral and immersive in a way which you can't just get from reading. And this is the other thing as well. I find it quite hard to be immersed in films, and unfortunately, I have difficulty suspending my disbelief. But I wasn't for that film. No, it was throughout the entire thing of it. It just is like, I would say it is a masterpiece film. So
it's pretty heavy too, right? It's like,
well, the thing is, yeah. I mean, 2 weeks prior to watching that film, I watched Dunkirk for the first time, and that was a very good film.
It's because some of them are horrible. I mean, Pearl Harbor was total soap opera.
I've never seen.
Isn't that Michael Bay? Didn't Michael Bay do Pearl Harbor?
Oh, there we go. Isn't he part of the tribe?
I don't know, but he's like Zack Snyder. He does a lovely looking film, but my God, are they rubbish? Are the stories rubbish?
Let me just have a look at his early life. Michael Bay, early life. How long is it going to be before early life becomes a anti-Semitic canard?
I think I liked. It was one I liked. I confessed to liking the Miami Vice one.
No, I unironically enjoyed Bad Boys 2.
Yeah, so sometimes you like them.
Guys, my suspicions confirmed. Michael Bay was born in Los Angeles. He was raised by his adoptive parents, Harriet, a bookstore owner, child psychiatrist, and Jim, a certified public accountant. Bay was raised Jewish. His grandfather was from Russia. So he's an honorary Jew.
He's an honorary Jew. So it explains why he does so well, doesn't it? But I don't think Michael Bay's films are bad. They just lack story, don't they?
Did he do Pacific Rim?
No, that was someone else. That's Guillermo del Toro.
Oh, I like his. He did that really creepy one about the Spanish Civil War, which was
Pan's Labyrinth.
Fantasy. Yeah, that was a weird one. So,
he was the director of that.
Yeah, Hellboy as well, didn't he, Guillermo del Toro?
Did he also direct Day of the Beast?
Don't think so. That's not what I wrote.
It's from 1995. It's in Spanish. It's about this priest who tries to do as many sins as possible in order to raise the Antichrist so he can kill the Antichrist.
Sounds nice. Apparently it's a Spanish black comedy horror film. Alex de la Iglesia is the director for that one.
No idea.
No.
I thought Del Toro is just like, oh, that's a Spaniard. What else has he done? So my apologies. This is supposed to be a show about the paranormal, and we ended up talking about movies what I've enjoyed.
Well, we were talking about movies because we were talking about. Have you seen Prince of Darkness, Hobbit?
Is that the one which has got Donald Sutherland? No, Kiefer Sutherland.
No, Donald Pleasance.
Oh, okay. Isn't there a James Carpenter film, John Carpenter film, with Kiefer Sutherland where he's this vampire, and he's like a real dick vampire? He basically plays the same role Kiefer Sutherland's done in all films apart from Twin Peaks.
Are you not talking? Are you not talking about Lost Boys? That was Richard Donner.
Was it?
Yeah.
Let me have a look at Kiefer Sutherland's, because Donald Sutherland's all right, but I really dislike Kiefer Sutherland, especially after the 24. Keith, I mean, what sort of name is Keith anyway?
You know that, what's his name? Howard Hunt, before he died, he wrote a book, and he said, the CIA guy, Howard Hunt, that 24 was the most effective propaganda tool. 24 about basically where the guy takes, there's no rights, and he's just torturing people all the time, and people loved it. It was like,
was it effective for getting people to accept torture of Emily?
Absolutely.
Oh, okay, interesting.
And at the very same time that was on, a bunch of politicians went, "You don't think waterboarding is effective? Well, you people are naive." And like every scene, Kiefer Sutherland is like strangling people and shooting people, and he's like, and we have 24 hours,
Yeah.
Breaking their fingers.
No, we have to do this. The even more intense one was, oh God, I forget it, but they Zero Dark 30.
Oh, I haven't seen that one.
Well, I can confirm Kiefer Sutherland played David in The Lost Boys, which is directed by Joe Schumacher.
Oh, Schumacher, I was wrong.
Let me remind myself of Prince of Darkness, because John Carpenter done a bunch of horror films as well, hasn't he?
Yeah, it's the one where the devil's in the basement in that vat.
By the way, I'm from a timeline where John Carpenter died in, was it 2016? All those celebrities were dying. The two I remember dying, one was George Takei, which I thought, oh, good, he was annoying. I mean, he was annoyingly homosexual. And the one which I really sort of lamented was John Carpenter. I remember that the first one to die was the bloke from Phantasmagoria, the tall man.
That's Phantasm.
Oh, yeah. And David Bowie died. And then it was just like, oh, no, John Carpenter's still alive. And I was like, but I remember reading his obituary. And it was such a weird thing because now I'm in this timeline where John Carpenter's still alive and he's written a comic sequel to Big Trouble in Little China.
There's also one to Escape from New York as well.
Let's see. So Big Trouble in Little China, that would have been Halloween. Big Trouble in Little China, Halloween, Heads of Tails, Bastion Asia, Escape from LA. What? It's called Prince of Darkness, right?
Yeah.
I thought it was... Oh, wow. John Carpenter is in My Name is Earl. Okay. Planet Terror. Prince of Darkness. Let's see. Prince of... Oh, The Power of Nightmares, The Rise of Politics of Fear, Shadows in the Cave 2004, writer, Prince of Darkness, main theme, uncredited.
What are you talking about, Hobbit?
John Carpenter and the Prince of Darkness. So let's have a look. Prince of Darkness. What is this thing? So I can...
It's got it's got Alice Cooper in it as a murderous tramp.
Yeah.
1987.
He doesn't have any lines, but he's great.
Yeah.
It was John Carpenter.
Have you not seen that one then, Hobbit?
I don't think I have. No, that's the thing. I mean, apart from The Thing, I don't really watch his horror films.
Oh, you should watch that one. It's incredibly high concept. Basically, there's the Vatican gathers a load of scientists together because they've found the devil, and he's in like this tank in a basement.
Cool.
Yeah,
okay.
And there's some like messages through time and stuff like that in it as well.
Well, this is the thing as well. I kind of like how I think, oh yeah, I've seen all of John Carpenter's films apart from Halloween. And then, of course, because I'm in this timeline, it's like, oh, did you know he directed this film called Prince of Darkness? And there was that other one about Mars as well, Ghosts of Mars.
Oh yes, I think wasn't Ghosts of Mars originally supposed to be like the third Snake Plissken film? I think.
I don't know. I mean, oh yeah, because there was like Escape from LA, and I think there was going to be one called Escape from the Moon.
Yeah.
I wouldn't know. But I remember there was a bunch of sort of films about Mars around about the same time, and there was the
Total
one with
Recall.
Sam Neill in it. Yeah, Total Recall was 1990, but I mean in the 2000s there was that one with Sam Neill in it.
Mars.
Which wasn't.
Or are you talking about this John Carpenter one? Are you talking about In the Mouth of Madness?
Because the John Carpenter one's got like Ice Cube or some other rapper in it.
Yeah.
But then there's this other Mars film where they encounter an artifact, and it sort of shows them how the Martians colonized Earth or seeded life on it or something.
I haven't seen that one.
It's pretty good. I mean, the Martian ones kind of reminds me of like Space Ghosts or something like this.
Space Ghosts.
Yeah, wasn't it like there were spooky ghosts, or there were Martian ghosts or zombies, or I can't remember that.
That's what Ghosts of Mars was, wasn't it? Because they were ghosts of Martians, weren't they? Inhabiting human bodies.
That's it.
Oh yeah. Ice Cube was like Desolation Jones or something, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. That would be another alpha female.
Oh, Natasha Henstridge, wasn't she? In that.
Yeah.
I was watching an old film recently, and I saw the Warrior Princess programming in that, and I'm trying to remember what film it was where I saw that. I think it was something from the 80s. No, it wasn't. Was it Conan?
Oh, you thinking of Red Sonja?
Oh, no, it wasn't Red Sonja. I haven't actually seen that film in ages, but there was this Warrior Princess a long time ago, sort of before Xena Warrior Princess and things like that. Not Terminator, although that's a good example. Actually, you know what? James Cameron makes believable, strong female leads, so I'm not going to criticize him for that. That is an example of like women which are actually strong and believably strong.
And Ripley.
Yeah, well, there you go. There's another example. So Sarah Connor and Ripley, they're both like believable, strong female leads.
In terms of actual, what's the thing you guys, the ghost phenomenon movies or whatever? Did you see the one with the Warrens, Earl and Ed Warren?
Oh yeah, interesting story about that. Apparently, someone already owns all of the copyright to all of the Warren cases, so the films they can make, so the ones they can actually make films of are cases that they've only tangentially been involved in.
Ah.
That's why the last film was like the Enfield Ghost, the Enfield Haunting and stuff like that, because they can't actually get into any. They can't actually do anything about. They can't make any films about any of like the juicier events.
Oh, that's too bad.
Yeah.
Because they had like a museum up in New Hampshire there.
Have you been there?
I guess he's passed away. I wanted to. I didn't make it. It was definitely one of the things. I've definitely hit a lot of spots. You know, I've been to the Skull and Bones tomb, and then I went over to Bavaria to Ingolstadt University. You know, for the heck of it, and I enjoyed that very much. So,
if you went to Skull and Bones, did you go in the wanking coffin?
No, but I tried to get the lowdown, and I got it. Of course, where do you go to? You, of course, you ask the janitor what the hell's going on, and the guy was saying it was what
you've joined a secret society, and he's like, oh yeah, I've joined a sex cult, and it's like, all right, go in that coffin and have a wank. What? I thought we were gonna have like groupies or something.
Oh yeah, we got back to the cult motif.
Yeah, back there again. You were saying you asked the janitor what was going on.
Yeah, what the thing, and he says, oh yeah, everybody wants to be in it. You know, everybody wants to be in it. And he goes, one day a year, the guys, he goes, they throw pennies from heaven, like a spell, I guess. It's almost like sound like a spell type of talk to me. And he says, like, and all the women want to catch the pennies. Everybody wants to be in it. And I was like, and he said, yeah, I said, well, nobody can go in there, right? Because it's secret. And he said, no, the maintenance guy has to go in once a year. It's a law about the boiler. And it's like, oh, what's in there? And he's like, oh, a bunch of dead stuff, man, and all this stuff. And it was like, what wants to be in it? And one interesting is there's a woman who wrote a book called Secrets of the Tomb. And so, of course, a lot of hardcore conspiracy guys are like, well, it was a fluff piece or whatever. But it's funny. I got to know her a bit, and she put me in one of her mundane books and gave, it's like it's about being a singer and doing comedy at night and having a shitty job during the day. And she put me, so that was kind of interesting. But I they say she's covering up with it, but I think it's like kind of like Niall Ferguson does a book about networking. Or you've seen that? Have you guys seen that one?
No.
It's got like, he's talking about being part of Harvard or Oxford, and he does go into a thing, the Illuminati, and he's kind of giving a little, obviously a punch in the face to people who traffic in conspiracies and theories and stuff. But at the same time, he has a lot of information in it. I think her thing is kind of like that too.
Yeah, because I think it's like, I think there is an element of like the conspiracy theory and stuff like that to it, but I think there's also an element of just like, it's just like a goofy club or something like that.
The for real, and like you want to be in it or to get network to get a job, right?
Yeah. That kind of fraternity thing, or the schools for young men in England, that was the way they trained you to boost the empire, right? That the certain, like you'd go to those boys' schools and they would teach you, to rule, right? Or to it's going to the right school tie. It used to be a very, very important thing.
And they had the secret societies associated with that, of course, right? Like,
yeah, you've got what was it, the Bullingdon Club, wasn't it, that David Cameron was in, where they said he had to shag the pig's head, didn't they?
Did you remember the bit where Charlie Brooker had a mental breakdown because it got found out David Cameron had fucked a pig's head? Do I say allegedly or not on that one?
I think that I think that is allegedly. I think that one is allegedly.
Okay, so allegedly he fucked a pig's head whilst everyone else was having a wank, allegedly. And Charlie Brooker's pilot episode of Black Mirror was the Prime Minister's been, there's like a terrorist attack, and if he doesn't have sex with a live pig on live TV, the terrorist will blow something up or kill someone or something. I don't know.
It's the princess is being kidnapped, isn't it? If I remember rightly.
Oh, okay.
And it turns out to be an art project in the end. Do you remember the end of it?
No.
It turns out to be all a hoax, and it was just an art. It was just an art project. The guy pretended to kidnap her.
It's just a prank, bruv.
Yeah, it's just a prank, bro. After he's done, they've made the Prime Minister have to shag a pig.
Yeah, mind you, that is a pretty good prank. So
yeah.
And I suppose in a certain way, if you're talking about this mysterious phenomena and occult stuff, it's definitely or cults or whatever. There's nothing like the cinema and these things that have really influence people, or art in general, or
Well, you've got it's what Harvey Weinstein gets up to is kind of like it's like an initiation ceremony, isn't it? What he like getting him to you have a shower while he jerks off in front of you or whatever he gets up to.
The masturbation showers.
Yeah.
movies.
I got this theory. I'm going to repeat it again because I haven't spoken to our guest on this one.
Yeah.
Yeah. My theory is that certain events like send ripples through time, and people that are artistic are sensitive to this stuff. They're creative and they're tapping into some sort of the Akashic record. There we go. That's a term for it. And that's why big things like 9/11, it's not that, the people that write The Simpsons or stuff are having prior knowledge. It's just certain artists were picking up on the number 9/11. So they put it into their media unconsciously. And the reason I mention this is my favorite Irish gobshite, Thomas Sheridan. And he truly is a gobshite, by the way, because he always ends his videos with feck 'em if they can't take a joke. So I made a joke at him once and he blocked me on Facebook. This goes back a while. So anyway, he was saying like, oh guys, I'm worried about a coronal mass ejection. I keep having nightmares about it. And he's got this very convincing way of talking, by the way. He has got the gift of the gab. And I thought it was interesting because now we've got coronavirus and he was having nightmares about corona mass ejection, which admittedly would be worse than this plague. Because of the plague, I mean, let's say it's like the Black Death and 1/3 of the world population dies. That's bad, but that's recoverable. We know it's recoverable because of the Black Death. A coronal mass ejection would destroy all electronics on the hemisphere facing the sun, which means that whatever's on the other side of the Earth, well, they just become the new superpower. If China was exposed to it in Australia, then they're in the Stone Age, and then people in America and Europe would just be like going, well, we can send you infrastructure to get your electrics back on track, but it's going to cost you a lot.
Wow.
So yeah, he dodged a bit, but at the same time, I thought that's interesting because it's like he picked up on corona. Corona's definitely the big word that's sort of going around, and billions of people are talking about corona. And he picked up on corona, and of course, the first thing that came to mind is what dangerous, world-changing event starts a corona? Oh, corona mass ejection. Because up until a few months ago, no one was really talking about coronavirus. The point I'm saying there is that artists, they can pick up on events ahead of time and they don't realize what it is they're picking up on. And they're not always 100% accurate because
You mean stuff like that woman that predicted the Titanic sinking in a book, didn't she? She wrote it all down and the events happened pretty much as they've played out, didn't they?
Well, I mean, I got a first-hand experience of this. I may have mentioned it in a previous episode of Fortean Words, and I didn't even have to think about that because I'm looking at the title on your YouTube video. I was asleep and I was floating in the clouds above what I thought was the Black Sea, and I thought, oh, that's interesting. That's the Black Sea down there. And I saw this passenger jet flying overhead and this streak of light going from, I could see ships. I mean, I don't know how that works, but I could see the ship and missiles emerging from it, shot up and knocked the passenger jet out of the sky. And then I wake up to find out, oh yeah, Russia was doing a naval drill at the time, using live surface-to-air missiles. Unfortunately, a Ukrainian jet got shot out of the sky.
Ooh.
But I was dreaming this as it happened. So I wake up and I listen to the news and I was like, oh, I just had a dream about that. Weird.
That's a heavy vibration.
Well, that's it. I mean, like big sort of things, lots of artists will pick up on it. That's why 9/11 appears in so much media. But little things like that, I mean, I no idea how it picks up on me. I'm fairly interested in Russian stuff because the Russian Revolution was interesting, and it's a shame what happened to the aristocracy. I mean, it's absolutely brutal what they did to them.
Even the kiddies, didn't they?
But I don't think I've ever had an event like that before or since, or if I have, I mean, I don't know about it. But I mean, I might have had like an event where, I was looking back into the past, and I always remember I did dream about Greek agora, and I thought, this is interesting. And I thought, this was definitely 3,000 years in the past. It seemed very specific date. But, that's not really useful because I don't have any evidence. I mean, it's just an agora in Greece, and, it's just like any other market, except it's 3,000 years ago, so you wouldn't see carrots or potatoes. Wouldn't even see lettuce for that matter.
That's what we were talking about, whether or not the hangman, the photo of the guy jumping off the World Trade Center, was it staged or was it real? Or was it a result of a, synchronicity from black magic, psychodrama type of thing?
I don't know. I mean, the thing is that it's one of those sort of desperate situations where if you're in a situation like a burning building and there's no way to get out, what do you do? And what can you do? Well, I'll tell you one thing you can do is you can turn your bloody mobile phones off. Who is it that keep... I do apologise for the interruption. This is very unprofessional.
Do you not know how to put a phone on silent, Hobbit?
Oh, yeah, it's just... This is the thing, right? I go like sometimes an entire day without anyone sending me a message, and usually I have to send message. Like yesterday, for example, it was dead quiet. I was sending out feelers everywhere, and the people were only responding today. And now it's just like, oh yeah, I'll come on and have a bit of a laugh. And suddenly, my mum's asking me, "Is there any letters come through?" And my friend in Germany showing me the view from a balcony. She says the music starting at 9 o'clock is a new thing, so they're in lockdown over there as well. I asked my
Are we transferring into complete transhuman as a result of this? Is everybody like, everything from human sexual relations to any kind of communication? Now we're going to do it through, internet, and
it does feel rather surreal, doesn't it? I mean, I recently started getting into, folks, I encourage you to get a two-way radio, and turns out my uncle is a ham radio operator, or used to be, I should say. And he was helping me find some repeater stations in my area, and I was listening to some middle-aged blokes talking about beer and their radio equipment. And I says, they're sort of saying, "Is anyone about? Can I say hello to them?" And he says, "Oh no, you shouldn't unless you've got a license, because otherwise you're a pirate, and generally they're shunned upon." So it's been surreal because, I mean, I've been... to answer your question, I mean, yeah, I've been on the internet, but that's normal for someone of my age, especially for those younger than myself. But I just thought, oh yeah, I'll have a go at two-way radio. That would be fun. I mean, I like to imagine worst comes to the worst, and there'll be like, oh yeah, well, all the infrastructure's gone down, but somehow the repeater stations are still working because, I don't know, they're on the diesel generator backup or something, and. So I'm getting a two-way radio. I've got a two-way radio.
Nice.
Yeah, but everything else is... Occasionally I'm answering emails from work. I'm not really bothering that much with it. And I'm getting people saying, "Can I still buy this? Can I do this?" And, "Oh, you sending me that thing?" And it's like, well, I can't get into the factory. So, "Oh, yeah, but the customer's getting really impatient." It's like, your customer's in this country, right? Yeah. The country which plague's ravaging for at the moment. Yeah. Have you told him there's a plague going on at the moment? Yeah. He's asking when he's going to get it. And I said, I don't know. How long does it take for the plane to die out? It's like, you've got some people and I'm just like, I'm sorry, it's like, are they living in the same world as I am? I mean, last time I checked, I mean, I even looked on the BBC and I got a text message from the government and responded, how did you get my number? And then, what is the text message from the government? Hang on. Let's read it out for those who haven't seen it or whatever. UK underscore gov. Gov.uk alert coronavirus in all caps. New rules in force now. You must stay at home. More info and exemptions. Gov.uk/coronavirus. Stay at home. Protect the NHS. Save lives. And I think they've got onto some sort of like neurolinguistic programming, because even when I see something like save the NHS, it gives me warm, fuzzy feelings inside, even though my experiences with the NHS have been a bit shit. It's nothing to say about the staff. It's more to do with the politics of the NHS, where they want to be a bit like the United Nations and just go like, oh, look, our African contingent's just as competent as the European contingent. And they're really not. Oh, the other problem with doctors is they're egotists as well. They're not scientists. They're not like Galen, who was doing experiments. So I've been... have I talked about gallstones before? Well, anyway.
Not
my medical... No. But whatever my medical condition was, they said, surgery is your only option. I said, really? Because, I'm a bit reluctant to have organs removed from my body without good reason. What if I was to do this non-invasive procedure? So I went ahead and experimented. I did a non-invasive procedure, and I said, all right, do an ultrasound. Have a look at my organs. Oh, yeah, you fixed yourself. Well, it was just a fluke. Maybe the ultrasound was like, it's like, guys, you've got records of me being admitted to accident emergency where I'm screaming in agony. You've got the ultrasounds showing that my organs are fucked up. I've done this procedure, and now I fixed myself. Why won't you do this? Yeah, well, you're probably just faking it. Go away. And it's just the sheer bloody arrogance of the doctors. And the ones lying to my face, and I said, oh, have you tried this medical technique? And it's like, no, it's never been tried. I said, really? No, never been tried for that organ. And then I looked into it, and I'm not being specific now because I don't want to mention what the procedure is and stuff like that. Although I've written about it on forums and stuff, so you can put two and two together and figure out what I'm talking about. But I looked into it. Yeah, in the 90s, this medical procedure was tried, but they found in 22% of patients they had to come back because it hadn't fixed them. So they decided, this non-invasive technique, which works 78% of the time, we're just going to discontinue it, because if we amputate the organ, then it'll have no more problems. Like, you've got pneumonia, you've got tuberculosis, well, we're just going to amputate your lung, and that way you won't have any problems in that lung.
Yeah, medical.
Oh, yeah, there's always a natural way to beat it. Like, like gallbladder flushes and stuff. It's because it's the reverse. It's like a horror movie, right? The doctor is trying to kill you. It's the reverse of the logic.
Yeah, it really is. And I looked at the doctor and chaps. I mean, I'm not sure if I've spoken this before, but he was a foreign, and he was one of those shifty-looking lying type foreigners who lied to my face. And it's like, well, you're lying to my face. I don't trust you. And I don't believe you've even sworn the Hippocratic Oath. So I don't like, you're not even allowed to ask the doctors if they've sworn. The only way you can know if they have or not is if they've got like a marble bust of Hippocrates on their shelf. My previous GP did have one. I was like, that's Hippocrates, isn't it? He says, yeah, how did you know? It's like, well, I know you doctors, you like Hippocrates and Galen. It's like, yeah, I sworn the Hippocratic Oath. And that guy, I really trusted him because, like most doctors, they're not too questioning of their dogma. They are very unquestioning people. What I'd say is they're highly skilled midwits. The ones which want to heal, they've got their heart in the right place, and that's important.
Yeah, because basically, doctors at the moment, they're just drug pushers, aren't they?
Well, yeah, I mean the GPs certainly are drug pushers. They're like, here, take this drug, and now can you kindly bugger off?
Yeah.
Whereas the surgeons just go, well, I've got a scalpel, therefore everything is a cut and remove problem. Like asking a carpenter, you see this thing here? Well, I've got a hammer, therefore let's nail it. But at the same time, I'm hoping this with this, the chink apocalypse, the China's one cough the sweet and sour sickness. That's it. I'm hoping that's going to devastate a lot of places with entrenched views, and then afterwards, whatever remains of the NHS, I could just be like, all right, you're short on staff, so you're going to need staff to do vital things. How about instead of this costly keyhole surgery, you ask patients to try this non-invasive procedure first and see if it works for them. And that way you'll reduce the number of people needing surgery and having complications from surgery afterwards. Because guess what? Turns out if you get an organ removed from your body, it doesn't always mean you'll be healthy afterwards. In fact, quite the reverse.
Well, what does a gallbladder do? It processes fat, doesn't it?
A gallbladder is part of your liver system. Not all mammals have got a gallbladder, but humans do. And you've got you've got bile stored in the gallbladder.
Yeah.
And the reason being is you have a large meal or you have a meal, and when the chyme from the stomach passes into the duodenum, it needs to be neutralized. And somehow the intestines are able to analyze the fat content of it. And so then they say to the gallbladder, okay, that gall you've stored up, can you release it now? I mean, the NHS likes to put on a load of bullshit on their page about gallbladders, like, oh, well, typically a gallbladder can only from 3 to 50 milliliters of gall, and it's not really that important. Your liver's constantly producing it. It's like, yeah, it's constantly producing it, but it's constantly producing a dilute form of it. Yeah. When it's in the gallbladder, it's concentrated. So it's like, I suppose it's like concentrated washing up liquid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they can make quite a few pounds by removing it with an operation too, I guess, right?
Yeah.
It's a quick profit, I suppose.
Okay, I'm back now. I mean, the thing is, with the NHS, it's not supposed to have those profit motives, yet the surgeons are quite highly paid. I think it's more a case of the preventative medicine approach to it, of like, well, if we remove the gallbladder, then you can't have gallbladder problems. Yeah, but you can have like problems from the surgery, and then you can't digest foods in the same way before, so you've got constant diarrhea and irritable bowel syndrome and bowel cancer and all those other lovely things. So, but they just go, oh, well, that's all right. I mean, if you get those things, then you can come back for some incredibly painful and expensive chemotherapy, which the NHS will provide, and it's a ridiculous system. I mean, I'm not sure. I'm not. I mean, the problem is that there's very few doctors like House MD who are scientists first and they're doctors second, and they're wanting to experiment. But the problem is, I mean, I did a dissertation in medical science about this because I was doing it was something about microbiology, and I was like, all right, I'm going to do about the history of pasteurization and how the medical field. The doctors at the time dismissed Louis Pasteur's work, but the vintners and the brewers in France immediately saw the merit of his work with, no, it was about teaching germ theory. And there was this idea of malaria passing it. And the point being, whatever it was about pasteurization or germ theory or something, the brewers and vintners accepted Louis Pasteur's work and took on his advice, and then they saved themselves a lot of money from, beer or wine turning into vinegar. And the reason they would have accepted it is because well, he just saved them a lot of money and it's their commercial interest. Whereas with the doctor, whether your patient dies or has a positive outcome doesn't really affect your bottom line. I mean, if the patient dies, then you still carry on as a doctor, more or less. I mean, yeah, if every single patient you assess dies, you'll get investigated like Harold Shipman did. But you get two deaths, you get one or two deaths here and there. It's just like, oh, well, it's part and parcel of the modern medical system. So it's only after the Brewers accepted Louis Pasteur's
Well,
work.
again as well, the doctors get nothing for getting a patient to do a non-invasive treatment, like you said. So they get nothing for that, do they? Whereas they can get, 500 quid at the weekend for doing a gallbladder operation or whatever, can't they?
Yeah, I mean, they don't even care, and they downplay like the risks of when you have this organ amputated, you're crippled for the rest of your life. I mean, it's like I'm saying, like, oh, you can walk around perfectly fine with only like one leg. You can have a prosthetic, and most people won't notice, and you can hardly see the limp, and yeah, walking up and down the stairs might be a bit tricky, but be fine and get over and done with, and the surgery is nice and easy. But yeah, a lot of these doctors are going to be dead soon, and then I'm hoping the ones that survive will be more open to reason and willing to try these things which will save them time, money, but more importantly, save the patient a lot of pain, distress, and crippling complications from the surgery.
Yeah.
Fingers crossed, but I actually died of my gallbladder. I didn't want to be too specific about it, but now I realise I can't talk. Oh, and the other thing which he said, so I've mentioned what it was. I said, what about lithotripsy for gallstones? No, never been tried. Yes, it has been tried. It's still done for bladder and kidney stones, but the NHS won't do it for gallstones.
So what's that? What are you talking? What, lithotripsy? What's that?
So lithotripsy is a process of no idea what tripsy means, but I assume it means break up or something. Litho is stone, and you're in a bath, and there's ultrasonic speakers all around the bath, and they angle the beam of ultrasounds to a specific point in your body, and when the waves cross, there's a interference pattern, and that causes like the stones to shake apart from, I suppose they find the resonant frequency, that's it, and then they shake them apart, and yeah, the stones break up, and you can then pass it through the bile duct quite easily. But again, they did it, and then the NICE, which is the NHS's governing body, which dictates all procedures and medicines which can be used in the United Kingdom. It doesn't matter whether you're private or not, all of it has to be NHS approved. They said, yeah, we noticed 22% of patients came back a few years afterwards with more gallstones. So we decided that it's actually better if we just remove the gallbladder, and then we don't have to see them again for gallstone attacks. And it's like, yeah.
That's quite depressing, really, isn't it?
I mean, imagine going to the garage and just saying, hey, my car stereo doesn't work. So they take it out. It's like, we fixed it.
Yeah. You won't have any more problems with it.
Yeah, there won't be any more problems with it. It's like, my air conditioning doesn't work. And it's like, yeah, we took the air conditioning out. You won't have any more problems with it.
Yeah.
My brakes don't work. Yeah, we took your brakes out. You won't have any more problems with it. I mean, it still goes. If you want to slow down, just go into the verge or the wall or something.
Yeah. It's only a slight complication.
I was learning the Eastern medicine. Any surgery scar will block the chi, basically. I'm tending to oversimplifying the kind of stuff you talk about. That's my view of it. Every time they cut your body's energy, it.
Yeah, that can make sense. I mean, you're supposed to have like a energetic form, because I was talking. One of the things I was curious about when I was studying biology was they talk about stem cells and how tissues form and how the cells produce these proteins so that more cells can be formed of that tissue. But I said, well, how is it that it knows, like, okay, I'm a kidney, I'm the kidney thing, I'm a blood capillary, what sends blood into the kidney, I'm one of those vessels what transfers urine from the kidney to the bladder. And then when you go, oh yeah, but I'm connective tissue and I'm bone, and so, and the thing is, no one actually knows. And I don't think the DNA itself has the information for that. I think DNA's got information. Well, we know that DNA's got information for replicating proteins. That's heavily studied in genetic engineering. But there's no real understanding of the basis of how a multicellular organism forms different tissues and has boundary layers between the tissues. And my theory is there's an energetic skeleton, which, I suppose like a three-dimensional radio signal or something.
Well, because you get people with phantom limbs, don't you?
Well, that's it, and I think the energetic skeleton's not been amputated; it's just the physical body which has.
Yeah.
So that's why you get phantom sensation in an amputated limb. Yeah, that makes sense.
Have you had those studies where they hook up the plants and people try to scare the plant and they react?
Yeah.
Or they can talk, or the.
I've spoken as well with the vegetarian. No, he's a vegan. He's like, super vegetarian at work. He says, oh, I don't want to cause suffering when I eat something. And I said, well, when you cut grass, there's that smell of cut grass. He said, yeah. And I said, do you like that smell? I said, yeah. Yeah, so do I. I think that's a nice smell. But do you realize what you're enjoying there is the sound of 1,000 blades of grass crying out in pain? What? Yeah. That smell of cut grass is a stress response to damage, but to warn other grass that, hey, I've been damaged, prepare yourself, maybe there's going to be grazing or something. I mean, it's communicating to the other blades of grass that I've undergone damage. So it's screaming out in pain. And then I was in this, it was actually, what's his name? He's that bloke from Bicester, Mark Devlin, that's his name.
Oh, yeah.
And is he vegetarian? I think he's vegetarian or vegan, and his friends are as well. And they were talking about animal cruelty and stuff like that. And I just thought, okay, well, I'm the token omnivore here. So I'm going to say that this thing about plants. And then another bloke stood up and he says, oh, have you heard about this experiment where a live yogurt with bacteria in it was put into a petri dish? They had a control group in one room and the experiment subject group on the same. So it's the same bacteria culture. Now, they analysed the response of the control and the test subject to boiling water. So the test subject, they poured boiling water on it and there was a measurable response from the bacteria from being boiled alive. The control room, this petri dish with the yogurt in it, had exactly the same stress response as the one that was being boiled alive. Now, how is that bacteria communicating with stuff in another room where there's no physical connection between the two samples of yogurt?
It is amazing. Have you heard the one about the sperm samples halfway around the world react if one is shocked or something?
Well, yeah, I mean, that's another thing as well. I mean, I don't know how you go and do this experiment because it's going to take a long time to get from one place to the other. But let's say you had like a research station on Mars and you took like a sample of yogurt to Mars and you took a sample of yogurt to Earth. The problem with that is, like, would it mutate in that time? Because if you freeze it, that's going to damage it. So would it mutate so much that it wouldn't react? What if there was like somewhere you could instantaneously split this stuff and then have it over like a vast distance, like on the other side of the Earth with the sperm samples, and see what is the maximum range that this can react? And then if we had the ability to say we could have like a sample of this from one side of the galaxy to the other, if we had this ability, and then to sort of, if we also had the ability to instantaneously monitor both samples, would they still react? Could we find, is there an effective range, or is there some sort of quantum entanglement where, irrespective of the range, they're still going to be aware of each other?
That is really interesting.
It's an experiment I'd like to do. I think we don't have the ability to do it now, and like I said, in the future, but it would be worth like sending out. Oh no, you can't do that in the International Space Station. All the food they send out there, they irradiate with gamma waves, so it's all sterile. Because I'd be fascinated if they took like a live yogurt culture into space and then subjected it to these sort of experiments and see whether the sample on Earth was responding in the same way. And the International Space Station, the round trip time there is, well, it's less than a second.
You don't believe in space, do you, Hobbit?
Well, you know, I'm assuming. I mean, maybe they've got like some sort of.
You don't believe anything NASA says, do you, Hobbit?
Oh, what, NASA need another 7 astronauts?
Never a straight answer.
Yeah, that's it. NASA exists as an organisation to dispel all research into Hollow Earth and the Gulf.
NASA is a place to bury the black budget. That's what it is. They pretend they're making lunar rovers and rockets and stuff like that. It's really a black budget cover.
I think to myself, I mean, I grew up watching Star Trek, and it really sort of gave me this utopian ideal view of the future where through science we're going to really make ourselves wise and good people, and we'll live in a post-scarcity society where anybody can just like replicate stuff. That's another thing that pisses me off for Picard. Why is there like money and people scrabbling for resources when you can just replicate anything you want?
Because Trump.
Pretty much.
I haven't watched it. I haven't watched any, but I have heard it's because Trump, isn't it?
You're not missing much, and I'm trying to think how that fits into it, but I'm just like, no, I'll just go with it. I mean, the show doesn't really need that much thinking about it, and yet I still watch it. I think I've got that, you know, beaten spouse syndrome of, oh, he'll change, he'll actually become a good show at the end.
Yeah.
But yeah, I grew up with this very sort of positive view of science, and a lot of my family are academics, and and curious people, and they have worked in science, and so.
Well, hasn't Star Trek inspired a lot of science?
Probably has. Yeah. I mean, you know, it's a very good propaganda for science as a healing thing, a tikkun olam through science, as it were. But the thing is, the more and more I've grown up, the more I realize, like, you know what, these scientists, they're not free-thinking, open-minded individuals. They're just as dogmatic as the so-called priesthood, which we're supposed to despise. And then I find that the doctors, I mean, yeah, the few of them, they are diamonds in the rough, especially now with diversity quotas in the NHS. But the few diamonds in the rough which do the Hippocratic Oath, they're very well-meaning people and the heart in the right place, but they have not got inquiring minds. They're just like, well, procedure says we do this, and yes, it's very interesting you've done these herbal supplements.
You mean they just read the Lancet and take it at face value? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, that's it. It's just like, well, I'm sorry, but your experiment's not been peer reviewed. It's like, I've got first-hand evidence. Here's my findings. Oh, well, if you get it published in the Lancet, maybe we'll take you seriously, tee-hee-hee. I mean, it literally got, the thing which pissed me off so much was there was a letter that was written to some of the higher ups in the NHS when I said, oh, look, I've done this and it's cured it. And the thing is, what actually the evidence which they were interested is they've seen the ultrasound before and after, and they're going like, oh, yeah, there's something to back this up. But the surgeon just sort of lying through his teeth, and he says, oh, herbal supplements. It's like, well, it's not herbal supplements. There's Epsom salts, which is a laxative. there's grapefruit juice, and there's olive oil. And it's not as if what I'm doing is this new revolutionary thing. The Egyptians knew about it, the Victorians knew about it. So, I mean, for fuck's sake, it's not hard to understand the principle of operation here, but yet they just sort of, oh yeah, it's herbal science. In other words, it's bollocks and it's probably a fluke. We can ignore this crackpot.
Yeah. Do you get the feeling that we've lost, as a people, that we've lost we've lost knowledge over time?
Well, the horrible thing is we've lost knowledge, and yet you've got people like myself who find this lost knowledge, and then I've actually put it into practice in my real life and go, oh, look, that actually worked. Our ancestors are wise, weren't they? Hey, modern doctor guy, here's some lost knowledge which works. Oh, piss off, will you? That's not an answer.
Yeah.
It's that dogma, and then that's the thing. I just, my positive view of science has been completely disabused by the people that purport to be scientists and the plebit tier I fucking love science crowd. And I'm sorry for the F, but that's the way it you know, I'm quoting how they say it. It's like, no, you don't effing love science. You love your religion of scientism, where the guy in the lab coats, yeah, your priest smock. The guy in the lab coat says this, therefore it must be true.
It does make you wonder what would happen if, like, Newton was around today. Like, say we hadn't discovered gravity and stuff like that, and Newton had done his experiments. I mean, would they have just fucked him off as a crank? It just make you wonder, doesn't it?
Well, I mean, a lot of people dismissed him back then as well, and this did the same with the Wright brothers. And the thing, what I think it is because these are not credentialed fellows which have the respect of their peers. And I'm thinking it's just like the priesthood, where you've got the proper priests and they got the very nice smocks, and then you've got your heretic wearing sackcloth saying, I have the true version of the Bible, and Jesus said this. And then, you know, you got your heretics, which are seen as crackpots. And I'm thinking this is the same thing. It's exactly the same sort of mentality. I'm a heretic crackpot wearing a sackcloth because I dared to defy dogma and said, no, there is a better way. I mean, some people will listen to me, but they'll be branded heretics as well. And most of society will go on living blissfully unaware up until the point where they get crippled because they've had a gallbladder out.
I hate that effing love science meme thing.
It is shit tier, isn't it? It's really awful. Oh, God, I swore. Sorry, Jesus.
It's people, I don't know if this happens to you guys, but a lot of times people get tired of talking to me about any kind of system figure, you know, priestly class, theology, the scientist. They're like, what people have said to me, actually, there's you, and then there's thousands of years of knowledge. And what do you know? Why aren't you for the vaccination? And you're not that smart. And I'm like, I don't care.
Yeah.
I don't like it. Something about it I don't like.
Yeah, there's a part of gut to it, isn't there?
I think definitely a gut reaction. You know, is it like a defense? Like he was speaking about everything's connected. These artists get vibrations of these future events, and the grass feels the pain. And you know, and also you can't discount the fact that people say everything's connected, but then they don't practice it at all. You know, they just say, "Oh yeah, everything's connected." But that's, you know, I got to pay attention to, you know, Neil deGrasse or, you know, or anything Joe Rogan, every guy, General Rogan. I like Joe Rogan kind of, but any guy he's got on is like, oh, this author, this scientist, you know, and it's like, oh, the ordinary people do learn too, and the animals.
Neil dank grass, Tyson Kush, marijuana, fried chicken, big snooper fugger. Yeah, the black science guy. We've got a version of Black Science Guy in the UK, and his name is Donald Cox. Brian Cox.
Brian Cox. Brian, isn't the galaxy beautiful, wonderful, amazing? Is it? What does he say?
Isn't science amazing? Yeah, look at me as I walk through this Cambridge University and go like, oh look, it's some proper science in love, pet. And
Bill Nye, the science guy, or something.
He's kind of like him, isn't he?
But the thing is, Professor Brian Cox is a PhD in astronomy or something, and
He had a
I was
he had a
remembering.
PhD in being a one-hit wonder.
Yeah, well, that's it. With Dream, things can only get better. The theme tune of the
Tony
New
Blair's
Labour movement.
Tony Blair's theme tune. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's just like, well, there's a sinister history. You've been selected by the elites, and really have been selected by the elites. I can't stand that tosser. I mean, he's got the same disingenuous grin on his face that Tony Blair had, the one which completely creeps me out.
Yeah.
But I had this. I was getting to a point here. No, it was apart from just the sour grapes that I've got. That why won't anyone listen to me? Surely I'm reasonable. Oh, that's it. If there's a vaccine for the sweet and sour sickness or the kung flu or the Wuhan ain't nothing to fuck with.
You done it again.
Yeah. Well, Jesus will forgive me for that because he knows I'm quoting black rappers.
Yeah.
If there's a vaccine that comes out for it, you're gonna bother taking it?
Well, usually
Because
by the time
not.
usually by the time the vaccine comes out, the virus has mutated and fucking moved on anyway, hasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to flu, one of the reasons that flu reinfects people every year, because normally what happens is you get a disease and then your body builds immunity to it and then you don't get the disease again. But you get flu every year because it's mutated by in a year's time. And this disease, they say, is mutated twice in it was released in November or something. So,
I mean, is anybody really surprised?
I think it's a synthetic one.
Is anybody
There was
really
some
surprised? Oh, sorry. I was just going to say, is anyone really surprised kids are dying of it? I mean, basically, kids now are brought up in sterile environments, aren't they? They don't have any kind of antibodies to fight anything, really, do they?
Ooh.
You know what? Maybe these Indians are onto something with bathing in cow shit.
Yeah.
You need to expose your kids to cow shit.
Yeah.
Work on farms. Tell them to jump on cow pats. I used to jump on cow
Eat some
pats
worms,
when I
kids.
worked in
Eat
farm.
some worms, kids.
That's it.
Build up your
Pick your nose
immunity.
and eat. Pick your nose and eat the bogies too. Pick sweets up off of the floor. You've got to encourage your kids to be dirty whilst they're young, so they've got an immune system. The other thing which would help as well is if the kids actually got breastfed, because all the immunity their mother's got gets transferred through in breast milk. And likewise, that mother or her immunity, if she's been breastfed by her mum, she's got her immunity. So if you've got like uninterrupted generations being breastfed, there's a long line of immunity being passed down from mother to mother to mother through breast milk. So
You guys gotta admit they're gonna
breastfeeding
whip out a English actor or actress when they want you to take the vaccination. That will be extremely nice, and they're gonna come on a giant world TV thing, and they'll be like, "We need to do this for us, for me, for us," or something. I don't know. The worse it will get, the more smarmy this thing will be, right?
They could probably have Prince Charles doing a public stunt where he's getting injected with something. It's like, I've now been vaccinated against COVID-19. It's like, why are you getting vaccinated for a disease you've already got? I mean, that's like, oh, well, the horses have bought out the stable, so now I'm going to close the door. You take a vaccine before you get infected.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, I mean, it's no point in saying like, oh yeah, this disease which we've definitely got, which a lot of people is asymptomatic, and I'm even starting to believe these conspiracy theorists, and it's weird actually. There's a lot of conspiracy theories about this which just don't ring as true, but there's a lot of people that says, I think I've already got this. I mean, I had flu-like symptoms during January, and I was aches and pains and feeling really shitty. And it wasn't like the flu, but then it passed, and they had shortness of breath and they were dizzy, and I thought that sounded like me during January as well.
Well, you had that thing last year, didn't you? It was like you had AIDS or something, wasn't it? You just had that thing that you just couldn't shift for about 6 months.
Maybe I had airborne AIDS. Maybe that's what it was.
Yeah.
So I've already had the chinky cough. I mean, maybe. You know what? I think I probably have got it, but at the same time, with all this fear about it, it's not as if I could just sort of wander outside and go la di la di la. I'm not willing to risk getting coughed on by a slanty-eyed, so.
It's the cult of the coronavirus, which we've come into our topic, right?
Yeah, finally.
We're all joining it. We're all paranoid. We're like, will I do like the movie stars do?
Well, I mean, I've seen like horror videos from Italy where you got all these people in ventilator beds, and then I just thought to myself, I don't really know what I'm being shown here, and I mean, yeah, I'll take their word for it that it's real, but what if I did
Well,
get it?
you got to remember, Hobbit. These are the same people that were showing the horrific bombing of gas. You remember Assad, the gas-killing animal? You know, these are the same people that showed you that. That's the thing. You can't trust the word these people say, can you?
No,
The whole white helmets.
Yeah. I mean, it's like the boy that cried wolf. I mean, they've cried wolf so many times, and now they're crying wolf for COVID-19. And I'm starting to think to myself, are they just crying wolf again? Have I already got this chinky cough and it's been and gone? And I don't know. And I'm not getting tested for it either, because I think the test is a load of bollocks as well. So
You know, the Parkland shooting victim kid David Hogg is suddenly an expert on the Syrian conflict. And he's like, the white helmets. Sorry, I interrupt.
Oh God,
it's so
kid,
weird.
Which is what, 26 years old?
Yeah, and it's like all of a sudden he's an expert in geopolitics, and he wants us to get in a fight with the Russians. And
well,
I thought you were a shooting victim, kid.
I could believe that because his dad's an FBI agent, so I mean, it could just be his dad feeding him what he's supposed to be saying. Because I noticed whilst David Hogg is still in prominence, that Goblina, she wasn't marketable, so they dropped her. Do you remember it was both like it was him, and then there was this goblin woman, and I thought the reason they had this shaved head goblin next to him was to make him look charismatic and presentable. Because when he's on his own, you realise just what a fucked up face he's got.
Nerdy and weird, weren't he?
I mean, what is it with like the current like alleged child raping satanic elite putting these weird like fucked up kids in front of us to like lecture us? Well, they look like children, but they're not children. Like David Hogg's 26,
Greta,
years old.
You're kind of
Greta's
coming around the edge of Greta as well, aren't you? And she's like a weird Down syndrome-y person that looks way younger than she actually is, isn't she?
I mean, she looks 12, but she's 17 or something. It's like, yeah, you've not undergone puberty.
She's got the Wu-Tang flu as well, hasn't she?
Well, no, she's got the no one's paying attention to me flu, which is a fate worse than death for women.
I thought she was the red cartoon girl from Resident Evil. She was like, "You're all going to die."
When you started talking, I got a bit excited when you talked about redheads. I thought you were going to talk about Velma. She's mine. Do I prefer Velma? No, I think I prefer Velma over Wilma.
Velma
over
Wilma.
They're both redheads. But I mean, if I had to like spend.
I like Betty.
Oh yeah, I like Betty as well. I mean, she's hot. But if I had a choice between being in the sauna with Velma or Wilma, I'd rather go with Velma. I mean, there's less chance of Fred coming and beat me up afterwards.
Oh, it's like 5:15 Eastern Standard Time here, guys. I might go get a bite. I could talk all night to you guys.
It's cool.
I'm probably gonna get a bite.
Well, it's not as if we got anything better to do. I mean, I'm still waiting for my mini Korg to come. I bought a synthesizer. I'm so enthusiastic about synthesizers, and I noticed that there's all these people on YouTube doing tutorials on how to play melodies and bass lines from Boards of Canada songs. And they say you twiddle the knob to this setting and that setting, and now it sounds like it's an old-timey tape deck which is recording shortwave. And that's another reason why I bought a two-wave radio, because I wanted to get like bits of analog static and hiss in some music.
Because you are the resistance.
Yeah, that's it.
You are the resistance.
The potentiometer resistance.
This is getting like Inception or whatever, where the reality is like, we've all got our YouTubes, and then we got like the Alex Jones thing, and then the news' opinion, and then now the life is weird too. Maybe people are gonna pay to go places and do something bored now or something.
A mundane holiday. God, imagine
Welcome to Nebraska.
Reminds me of that. Do you remember that Young Ones Hobbit where they're in the place that's always fun and they're desperate to be bored? Do you remember that?
Oh, I don't remember that one. What, they go out on the trip? Oh no.
It kind of goes below ground, and there's like the king and queen, and they've got all the courtiers that you like. It's always fun, and they just want to meet someone really boring.
No, you're saying Nebraska, and I'm trying to think of our equivalent, like a holiday where you get sent to Slough and there's constant drizzle, and you have to wake up 7 o'clock in the morning so you can get through the morning rush to get to work. Don't worry about it though, because you're on the bus or something. Yeah. And then your work is like the most mundane office drivel where you're doing like insurance assessment forms or some bollocks like that.
Well, it's like David Brent's life, isn't it? That'd be fucking mundane, wouldn't it?
Yeah, that's it.
I think I gotta check out you guys. I gotta go get a bike, but
no problems.
I'm interrupting.
We're gonna wind up anyway. Lovely. Thanks for coming on, Stash. Okay. Really enjoyed it.
I really loved meeting you guys. This was absolutely tremendous rap. I hope you can have me on again sometime.
Yeah, nice one. Just let me know. You got my contact details now anyway. So.
All right, that'd be awesome. Hey, tremendous talking to you guys. Keep the resistance.
We are the resistance.
We are the bloody resistance. For Her Majesty, of course. All right, see you later, guys. Have a great. What time is it over there, anyway? Is it like?
It's 9:20.
Wow. All right. How do you say it? Cheers.
Cheers, pal.
Cheers.
Cheers. All right,
cheerio.
Cheerio.
Yeah.
In Boston, we say out of here. Something. I don't know. See you guys.
Nice one. Cheers, Stash. Thanks a lot, mate.
Cheers.
Well, I think now's time to address the chat. I haven't been ignoring you guys.
Chat's been a bit quiet, I think.
Well,
I think everyone's we're up against Dutton and the 24-hour stream, aren't we?
Oh, okay. Yeah, well, 11 people are watching us rather than the other thing, so
we've had 57 playbacks.
How does that even work when we haven't even done the show yet?
Because it's on DVR, isn't it? Yeah, there's the DVR settings, so it's people. I think it's people who've started from the start again.
Oh, fair enough. Well, Rob Calvert says, Godrod Coffin. Yep, I remember that bit. And he says, are you going to the PA conference? What's the Police Academy conference?
Police Academy.
Well, Hobbit
Citizens on Patrol. I actually watched Police Academy 2 the other night.
Oh, yeah, back when you had the non-threatening black guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. The pleasant 80s blacks as opposed to the 90s blacks.
Yeah.
He says, well, Hobbit is remote viewing. And it's like, there's only literally one time I remote viewed, and it's just like, well, what am I supposed to do? I mean, I woke up and it's like, yeah, that event's been and gone.
Right, so are we going to wind this up now then, Hobbit?
Yeah. I mean, it was so strange you were talking about Prince.
Yeah, the Pit's doing a 24-hour stream. Hold on a sec. I'll get the latest. You've been listening to any of the Pit, have you?
No, I haven't at all. I've been.
He was talking about food in Austria earlier when I was on.
Oh, nice. Oh, I missed that. I finally know what a Venus Schnitzel is. It's not a battered sausage; it's battered steak, and it's lovely.
Ah, that sounds alright.
Oh, it's gorgeous. It really is, and I loved it. But yeah, kids don't play outside anymore. No, well,
yeah.
There's a reason for that these days.
Night all.